So what do you do when you're in a sexless marriage? Welcome to the Secure Husband Podcast. Bruce Abbott, certified professional coach and founder of SecureHusband.com. The podcast where I help good men stop reacting out of pain and start leading themselves with calm strength and grounded confidence. I think a sexless marriage is one of the deepest wounds that a man can carry, and he often carries it in silence. It's not something that he feels really comfortable talking with other men about. So I want to approach this podcast with an understanding. This episode is not about shaming. This episode is not about blaming. This episode is not about guilting, because you're not broken for wanting sex. You're not a pervert for wanting to have sex with your wife or craving connection. This is not being emotionally stunted, only thinking about one thing. This is about being human. And for most men, sex isn't just about the act of sex. But when you're a good man married to a good woman, maybe you've got kids, this isn't about spinning plates and playing the field. You're in a committed monogamous relationship. This is more than the physical act of sex. It's about being wanted. It's about feeling seen. It's about experiencing closeness. It's feeling emotionally and physically chosen. I just did a recent podcast episode about how men need connection. We're biologically wired that way. We've needed connection since the moment we were born, as an infant, skin to skin with our mother. It's part of being human. So when that disappears in a marriage, when days turn to months and months turn into years, intimacy vanishes without explanation, it hurts deeply. And then the worst part of it is you start to wonder, what's wrong with me? Am I not attractive? Am I not desirable enough? Why doesn't she want me? Is it my body? Is it my personality? Is it my failure to be enough? Am I just supposed to live like this the rest of my life? I'm going to tell you this from my own experiences, and I say this with love and no shame. You are not alone. You don't have to stay stuck in this shame. You don't have to stay stuck in this despair and frustration. That was the main driver of the Secure Husband process. I had to understand why my sexless marriage was actually tied to my identity and how I had to reconnect with this inner worth and power to be able to speak my truth without guilt. And then that way, I was able to stop making the healing dependent on whether or not she ever initiates again. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. Because again, it's not about sex, it's about a deeper wound. So when sex disappears from your marriage, it doesn't just affect you from a bodily perspective, it affects your soul. It's deep inside. You feel rejected and ashamed and confused and lonely and unwanted and angry. All these mash of emotions just come out. And I found that there was no real way to talk to anyone about this, especially not in a way that was kind to men, because you hear things like, well, sex isn't everything. Maybe you just need to help more around the house. Be more romantic. She'll come around. Now, there are some things. If you don't help out around the house, if you're not romantic at all, if all you think about is sex, that's not going to create emotional safety and emotional trust in your wife. It's going to create neediness. But again, we'll talk about that because we don't want to shame. But there are behaviors that influence this. But we have to go down to the core and look at what you have been trying. So what if you've been patient and supportive and gentle, and you've tried to be romantic, and you've done lots of things around the house, but it still doesn't change? You're doing the dishes, you're picking up the kids, you're busting your butt at work, provide for your family. What is the story you start to feed yourself? Is it selfish to want touch? What if this never changes? Can I survive that? Do I want to stay in this marriage anymore? Am I desirable? Am I worthy of this? Some of these things are subconscious. This is where we begin the healing, by acknowledging the truth and acknowledging that this pain is real. You're not wrong for feeling it, but you start by noticing the stories that you're telling yourself about her lack of desire. You start with becoming aware, being curious. So when physical intimacy is gone, most men start telling themselves these painful stories that she must not love me anymore. I'm not attractive to her. Maybe if I was thinner or taller or funnier or more masculine, maybe she'd want me, dress better, hit the gym more. Or you may be thinking she wants someone else. I remember my wife actually telling me, if I wanted to leave, I could have, but I didn't. So you have to pay attention to those stories. See what stories you're telling yourself and see how they begin to shape your self-worth. Because her lack of desire isn't automatically proof that you're unwanted. Remember, in a dysfunctional relationship, you always have two wounded partners. You have your inner space, she has her inner space. Together, you have a relational space. So you have your side of the street, she has hers. She could have trauma, hormonal shifts, emotional shutdown, disconnection from herself, her own belief that affection is unsafe or unnecessary, emotional trust issues with you, emotional safety. She may have body images. There are so many things that come into that. If they're older, there may be perimenopausal elements in there, physical elements, but you don't have to excuse her behavior to understand it. But you do need to notice the untrue stories that are keeping you trapped, stories that you're telling yourself. So just notice and ask yourself, what am I making her lack of desire mean about me? What am I telling myself? Is it possible that I've been attacking my own worth based on her avoidance? Those are important questions to ask yourself because that awareness is where healing begins. And then you make a choice. You choose to stop trying to earn her affection. This step is hard. This is probably the most difficult step. It's also difficult to understand because when you stop trying to earn her affection, and you hear me talk all the time about you stop chasing, does this mean you're giving up on ever having sex in your relationship again? No. I've said this before in previous podcasts. This is not about giving up sex. It's about giving up trying to earn sex. Do you see the difference? You stop trying to perform. You stop trying to people please. You stop doing the chores, not because you don't want to do your role in the family, but you're doing chores hoping you're going to earn sex. Trying to be perfect. Trying to say all the right things. Why? Because you're trying to earn sex. You're walking on eggshells. Why? You're trying to be this perfect husband just to hopefully get a crumb of affection. Why? Because every time you make sex the reward for being good enough, you're reinforcing the lie that your worth is up for negotiation. So here's the powerful choice you make. Even if she never touches me again, I will stop begging for scraps and start showing up for me. Does this mean I'll never have sex again with my wife? No, but I'm going to stop begging for scraps and I'm going to start showing up. You're not doing this to punish her. You're doing this to reclaim your dignity. That's the moment where things start to change. That's when you start embodying the healing. Now inside, this is probably driving you crazy because there's this little boy inside of you that is triggered right now. Because when you don't get affection from your wife, it's not just hurting your ego. It hurts to the core, that little boy inside of you. And most men aren't going to say this out loud, but deep inside, you had a childhood where your emotional needs were not met. Maybe you weren't hugged enough. Maybe you were told that emotions are weakness. Maybe you felt invisible around parents or caregivers, or learned that affection has to be earned through performance. You had to be the right way or say the right thing or not speak up. See, that little boy has a wound. And your wife, when she stops initiating, that little boy subconsciously inside of you is saying, yeah, you're still not enough. They still don't love you. They didn't love you then, and you're unlovable now. See, if you don't deal with that part of you, you're going to stay trapped in these cycles of shame and anger and people-pleasing and silent resentment and emotional collapse. So you got to take some quiet time and pause. Put your hand on your chest. Just put it right on your heart and picture that little boy inside of you. And with love and compassion, you tell that boy, I see your pain. Little guy, you didn't deserve to be ignored. And you know what? You don't have to prove your worth to anyone ever again. See, when you start to love that little boy inside, you stop trying to get your wife to do it for you. That's healing. And when those false core beliefs come screaming back at you, you connect to something bigger. You connect to a source of divine guidance. Whatever your belief system is, if that's God, the universe, a higher power, a source of unconditional love, inherent worth, and you begin to have a dialogue with that spiritual guidance through prayer or reflection or meditation. But the important thing is you go to that higher power and say, these are my beliefs. Is this true? And you get quiet and you listen. God, when she doesn't want to have sex with me, am I not worthy? Am I unattractive? Am I undesirable? And what you will hear is, that's not true. You are worthy. You are loved unconditionally. I love you. Your adult self loves you. You are desirable. You are worthy. You are attractive. That's healing. And you need that higher power because you don't trust yourself. Your inner boy does not trust your adult self. So that is a source of truth that becomes louder than the lies you tell yourself. And this allows you to see that avoidance that she gives you without making her the enemy. So we talk about how we can't fix our wife, but I do want to take a moment and look at her right now. Because remember, this is two wounded people. You always have two wounded people in a dysfunctional relationship and in a sexless marriage. Because if your wife is shut down sexually, it's easy to villainize her and say she's manipulative, she's punishing me, she's cruel. It's easy to kick into victim thinking. But there's usually two things happening. Number one, your woman doesn't feel emotionally safe or emotionally trusted of you. And that could be because of these behaviors that you've exhibited. And again, it's not to shame, it's not to blame or to guilt you, but you have to understand how you have maybe influenced this situation through neediness, through shutting down, through withdrawing, through rage. Okay, so you have that component. That's your inner space. But remember, you have your inner space, she has her inner space. So what happens in her inner space? Well, many women disconnect sexually because they've disconnected emotionally from themselves, especially if she has these avoidant attachment styles and you're coming from these anxious attachment styles. She was probably never taught to enjoy intimacy. Maybe she has unresolved trauma or carries shame around her body. Maybe she doesn't even understand why she feels blocked. She just knows that she feels unsafe emotionally. And so she shuts down sexually. Now, none of that makes it okay to reject you, but it does help you approach the situation with curiosity and strength instead of blaming or pressuring or guilting. So this is where you stay grounded. This is where you have to self-soothe your nervous system and tell yourself, I'm not going to make her my enemy, but I'm not going to abandon myself anymore to keep the peace. So that's masculine leadership. And this gives you the opportunity to own your truth without demanding a result. So now we talk about communication, because everybody always says, oh, it's communication that can heal a sexless marriage. Yes and no. How is that communication being handled? See, you're absolutely allowed to want sex in your marriage. You shouldn't feel shamed for it. It's okay to need it. It's okay to grieve its absence. But if you want real change, you have to express your truth without making it her responsibility to fix. You don't say, hey, you never have sex with me. What's wrong with you? You say, I miss feeling close to you. I feel disconnected when intimacy disappears. Babe, I know this isn't easy to talk about, but I'm committed to being honest about my needs and hearing yours without blame or pressuring. And if she shuts down, you don't collapse. You keep showing up for you because this is about identity. This is about becoming the man that you want to be. If your wife never comes around, then you will eventually ask yourself this question: is the man I want to be staying in a relationship with a woman who refuses affection? Now, I will say that it takes a lot of healing work to get there, to become that secure husband, to become that man that you want to be. It's a journey. The question I want you to sit with is, am I trying to heal to get her back or to get me back? Because when sex disappears, a lot of men chase healing as a way to earn desire again. I talk about this a lot because men think if I become confident, she'll want me. If I self-regulate, she'll come around. If I stop pressuring, she'll finally respond. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. And if your healing is dependent on her reaction, you're still not free. So this is where you have to tell yourself, I'm healing because I deserve to live loved, even if I'm the one who has to go first. I'm healing because I want to be the kind of man who walks in wholeness, not wounds. I'm healing not to chase her, but to come home to myself. This allows you to break the pattern. You guys have been in a pattern. A sexless marriage is a pattern. It's that loop that you guys have gotten into. And when you heal yourself, that allows things to shift. Someone has to take the first step to break the pattern. But you're doing this for you. You're not doing it for her. You're doing it because you know that you're 100% responsible for getting your needs met. Because a sexless marriage can leave you feeling lonely, gutted inside. But it doesn't get the final say over your worth and your identity. You're not broken. You're not unlovable. You're not a victim. You're not powerless. Hey, even if she never comes around, you get to be in a position where you may have to make those tough decisions down the road. So even if things stay this way for now, you continue to heal. You reclaim your peace. You heal your heart. You honor yourself. You build that self-worth. You live from the quiet strength of a man who no longer begs for scraps because he's discovered that he is worthy inside. Will sex come back to your marriage? It might look different. Go check out one of the earlier podcasts on responsive versus spontaneous desire. She may not be initiating like she did in that infatuation and honeymoon stage, but if you're healing, oftentimes she feels emotionally safe with you and can trust you emotionally, and so she's open. So when you want her, she feels comfortable sharing that with you. A sexless marriage is not a death wish for your marriage, but it does require you to do things differently. And you can do that when you become more secure. Hey, I hope this podcast has helped you out. Hey, listenership has grown tremendously for this podcast, but I noticed not many of you give reviews. The numbers are high, but if you're a regular listener, hey, will you review this podcast right now? If you listen to this all the time, this helps other men find this podcast for their healing. And hit that subscribe button for more episodes if you're not already. Share this episode with someone who you think may need to hear this. Visit securehusband.com. Sign up for a free 30-minute consultation to see if one-on-one coaching with me is right for you. And I'll see you again on the next Secure Husband podcast. Thanks for listening.